Well, while I'm out here, let's talk about confidence for a minute, alright? Hey everybody, how's it going? Well, I just made a video about Kratom, and I'm going to go right into confidence, because I think this is an important one, and it just popped into my head. And, you know, what can I say? Shit, you gotta have confidence in life, but if you're overconfident, you're a complete douchebag. So let's get right into that. I can be overconfident about things. I'll admit that. A lot of people can. And a lot of people can also be very underconfident about the things that they know and do. In some regards, you might call this humility. And in some regards, being overbearing might be called arrogance. So there's a little hubris in everyone. There's a little bit of arrogance in everyone. There's a little bit of pride that comes with being human if you want to achieve anything great and have success. And what I mean by that is, when they say pride comes before the fall, it's pretty obvious that we know that if a person's too prideful about things that they've done, and they want credit for everything, it's like the person who donates to charity but wants their name on the wall. These kinds of things. It's done for the person themselves, not for the charity of it, and not necessarily. It's much more complicated, I know, because people are complicated. But we people are very interesting creatures. We have a lot of different behaviors: pride, arrogance, confidence. These are things that are very difficult to distinguish from one another sometimes. I know a lot of people don't have the confidence that they could sit in front of a camera even and make a video like this. I've talked to people who have said, you know, how did you get started making videos? I say, well, one day I just sat in front, I don't even remember, you know, I have an old video from a few years back that I was just talking about, like, prepping and end times and what could happen in the world, sitting in this very room, kind of in the dark. And in the 4 or 5 years since then, I've come so many, you know, this room's gone through so many different changes. I've gone through so many different changes. I just forget what it's like to not make videos. It's become second nature. It's first nature. It's what I do every day. I don't do it. I don't make money off of it. I just enjoy doing it. It's great. And it's one of the few things that I've stuck with this long. I'm hoping I can turn it into something in my life. You know, maybe be a speaker or start doing a newscast. And I was with a good friend today, and I was kind of inspired because he's a confident person. In fact, he's overly confident to the point where he used to be very arrogant, and now he's very humble because we both have kids. You know, it makes you humble. And we were sitting there at the park. We were talking about. He just gave me this idea, this flash of inspiration that. I said I want to do something with my channel. I bought a green screen, and I want to start making maybe informative videos or something where I can really start, you know, getting info out there and facts. Because for so long it's been just philosophy. I wanted things that are timeless, talk about life issues. But there's a lot of info that people need to hear, and I just have been reluctant to want to get into that. But then I thought, this would be fun. Take an aspect of life, something that's a worldly issue right now, and then, like, say, for example, sit here with 2 microphones, and then speak from one side, you know, and maybe even have a voice changer or something on both of them, different voices, and argue with myself, in a sense, about, go from both sides of an issue, in other words, not having 2 people arguing, but one person. So it's not like you have a group of people on the news that are sharing their personal opinions and arguing over one another, but one person, one voice, that can't talk over itself, back and forth about an issue. Well, for example, oh, if you believe in global warming, then you're buying the conspiracy. And then the next person, you know, well, this is the science that says this. And go back and forth and be completely fair, give equal time, both sides, and then discuss the issue. And it just popped into my head, and I thought it would be a fun thing to do. And I started to get off topic there, but anyhow, that's the thing. It takes confidence, more confidence than I have, to do something like that. Because it may appear that me sitting in front of the camera, I'm a confident person. I'm not as confident as you may think. I still question myself. I have humility. I think, oh God, that was stupid to even talk about that. There are a lot of nights I make a video and then decide not even to upload it, and then the next day I'm like, I'm glad I didn't upload it. Maybe ranting and raving in the evening about something. Of course, my rants are pretty mild, This is about the extent of it. Because I don't get angry. I just get into something. I'm really emotional about stuff, but it's not emotion. It's intensity, I guess. I don't get angry, and I don't really get elated. I don't get happy when something goes positive in the world, nor do I get angry when something's negative. I just think I have to formulate an intensity and use that to speak out against that. And that takes confidence too. It takes confidence to do a lot of things, but I still am lacking a lot of confidence. For example, and that's something I told my friend at the park, I said, it takes a lot of balls in this world to tell people you like Obama still. And I do. And I have no problem saying that, because everyone has an opinion. That's fine. Do I like everything he did? No, of course not. But the political atmosphere becomes so horrible. It's not even really worth arguing it with people, but make sure that you speak your mind. Let people know how you feel, So much of what we view is shaped by our perspectives of the world. And when it comes to confidence, we're told that we're unworthy. We're told that we are not good enough, we're not fast enough, we're not smart enough, that if we're white, we can't play professional basketball. Of course they don't say that. But the old joke about blacks, make better sports players. There's stereotypes that we use, simple ones, and I'm sorry to use that one. That was a really bad example, because race is a horrible thing to use. We need more confidence, but not at the risk of being overly confident, I guess. Shoot, let me think about how to formulate this. Yeah, let's think about that. I can hear my kid crying in the background. It's always something. Hell, you gotta be confident to be a parent. Putting up with kids and the things that they say and do, and oh man, it's nuts. But anyhow, I love vaping. Confidence. Think about the word for a minute. It's confiding. To confide in someone, is to trust in them. So confidence. Confidence. You're confiding in yourself. You're trusting yourself that what you're doing is the best you can do. And all of us have shortcomings in life. And all of us have weaknesses. All of us have strengths. And we're all doing the best we can, with the exception of a few who are complete douchebags and take advantage of other people. And yes, many of them had rough childhoods. Many of them were abused themselves, didn't have parents, etc., etc. Doesn't matter. The point is that they exist. And as long as people exist with bad intentions, regardless of their roots, we will have to protect ourselves in this world. And some of these people who are like that, they're overly confident. These are the sociopaths, the ones that think that they're better than everyone else. And that's a difficult one to overcome. In my life, I found myself to be a confident person since I was young, until I got older, and I realized that maybe I wasn't as confident as I thought, or maybe my view of me as a younger teenager was skewed. Or was I confident, even though I had, zits constantly, acne, big mounders on my nose or on my forehead, and then, not rosacea, but zits all the way back down, and I tried to grow a goatee. Here I am, a guy with a gullet and a wannabe goatee, and, I went through a lot of stuff when I was younger with getting fucked with and picked on, like we all did, who, not all of us, I guess, but that's kind of full circle to where I was going with this video. Confidence is an illusion. I'm sorry it took me 10 minutes to get there, but that was the thought I had when I started this video. The question is, how do we reach the confidence of so-and-so or so-and-so, whether it be a politician, movie star, athlete? And when you see interviews with people, real down-to-earth interviews, you find out they're just like you. You find out that they're just people too. In other words, it's the autograph syndrome, you know, of wanting an autograph from a person just because they're famous. Not because you care what they did or even know who they are, but everyone else is getting an autograph. It's that this person has fame, and that's something that's attractive to people. But the reason behind that is because we see them as have done something great, and that they must have something. They've got the right stuff. And when you really get down and talk to them, you find out maybe they didn't have the right stuff. Maybe they were forced to play that football game, and that's their parents wanted them to be the athlete, and they were doing it all for their father, you know. Or, you know, I guess my point is that maybe people who appear to be very lucky and appear to be famous and happy about it aren't always so happy about it, because humility goes so much farther than using fame as any sort of leverage in life. That fame in itself is garbage. It's what you do with it and how you achieve it. So it's how you achieve this fame and then what you do once you're famous. If you achieved your stardom through doing something great, being a wonderful musician or athlete, phenomenal. But then if you use that to spread distrust or hate, anxiety, shame on you. Because you are obligated in some certain way to the world. You are obligated once you become a famous person. And in my opinion, this is totally my opinion, if you're going to be in the public eye at all, is what I'm saying. And there are exceptions, people who become famous for one reason or another that don't want to be famous, and they say, back off, leave me alone. They get the paparazzi and the media that won't leave them alone. Hey, they can live their life however they want. But I'm saying that if you're one of the representatives for our kids, like a sports or a movie pop star, I think that you should have a certain amount of respect and responsibility that comes with that, and that's a burden for them. So it's not as easy, you know, people who think that it might be great to be rich and it might be great to be famous, neither one of them are really all they're cracked up to be. Fame just ends up going away, and that's one thing you got to realize. No matter how famous you get, the more famous you get, the faster you'll lose it, because eventually nobody's interested in Burt Reynolds anymore. You know what I mean? And that's who was popular, say, in the 80s when I grew up. You know, Smokey and the Bandit, that kind of shit. And I respect that things change, you know, that these values change. One of the funny things about that is that we looked at history very skewed. We seem to remember people doing great things but forget the bad things they did. And that's because we're designed to remember the good. Our brains don't want to be negative. It's not in our nature to be negative beings. And there are chemical imbalances that do cause negative thinking. But generally, positive thinking achieves results. And nature would want that default mode to achieve its desired results. And we want to, you know, we want to be happy people. So, I don't know where I was going with that. I kind of lost it. I'll admit it. I totally forgot. I did have a point on that one, but maybe I'll vape for a second and think about it again. Being famous, I was going to say, you know, it just amazes me when you see things like, you know, when I'm in the store, I make it a point to not look at the magazine covers, but sometimes you can't help it. Something about the Kardashians or some bullshit news story about so-and-so, and you're like, maybe it's true, maybe it's not, whatever. But just the fact that people are attracted to those who haven't ever done anything with their lives but are famous, and as if fame carries its own energy, which it obviously does, you know, it's addictive for people. Kardashian. There's one last thing, I guess. People who are overconfident, who think, the ones who aren't really broken inside, but really think that they are the shit. They're the exception. And it's hard to distinguish them from the ones who are really hurting inside, but just don't want to admit it. And the ones who just don't know any better and are really complete douchebags. It's my belief that, I did not want to even go here, but Donald Trump is the best example I can think of a true douchebag who really thinks he's great. And Kanye West is the best example of an artist that I believe is way overrated. You know, I tried to give the guy credit because I'd never heard his music or looked at his lyrics, but I kept hearing he was a genius. But the way he talked and behaved, and then I watched one of his videos and I thought, this is garbage, but I gotta give it a chance. So I started looking at his lyrics and thought, you know, this may be genius to somebody who doesn't, maybe isn't a writer themselves, or that isn't a musician themselves. But all the people that I respect, as far as musicians, agree that, yeah, Kanye's, sure, he's okay, lyricist, lyric writer, but he can't rap for shit. And he's not that artistic. He just makes strange videos. And I can completely agree, but he's become famous and people like it. And so the question I guess I'm proposing, and I'm not trying to diss Kanye fans, if you like it, you like it. That's music. But I'm wondering if a lot of people just like it because others like it and they claim it's good. We tell ourselves things are great because we're told that they're great by others. And I know when I grew up and there was a new popular album that came out, you wanted to like every album, every song on the album, because you hear one song on the radio and then you had to go buy the tape to hear it. And you took it home and you'd be like, okay, I like this. Yeah, sure, I like this. And then finally you're like, okay, this sucks. and I think we feel that way about a lot of things in life, but artists, being an artist, it does take confidence. But when it gets out of control and takes wings, an artist can lose their ass. I'm not going to even say I'm an artist. I consider myself, I guess, an artist. I like to create. I do Fimo clay beadwork. I like to sew, create. I like to paint. I like to draw. I like to basically work with any medium, clay, you name it. I'll do anything. Working with metal, wood. I create boxes and stuff like that. I still don't like to even call myself an artist, rather, but just somebody who's interested in things. When I see some of these modern painters, and I see the paintings and the kind of people who discuss the paintings that they painted, and the kind of people who go to look at these paintings and buy them for thousands of dollars, I say garbage. Those paintings, a lot of them, are the Kim Kardashians of the art world. And that's a problem in our society. Same goes with a lot of technology and devices that we don't need and things like that. But it gives consumers confidence because they're told that they need confidence. I'll leave you on one last issue, diamonds. Biggest ripoff in history. So in the 1800s, when they started realizing that the diamonds were plentiful and they weren't rare and that they were everywhere and they were getting dump truck loads, metaphorically, out of the Kimberley mine, they decided that they were going to corner the market. So De Beers, De Beers organization, closed the mine and only allowed a certain amount to be extracted and only a certain amount of diamonds onto the market each year. And that amount of diamonds was equal about to the amount of people getting married that year. And they convinced people that diamonds were worth tens of thousands of dollars, and convinced men that if they couldn't buy their woman a ring, then they shouldn't have confidence, that they shouldn't be worthy. And if they can't buy them a diamond ring, well, then they're definitely not worthy. And this diamond should be worth something between 2 months and a year's salary, depending on who you talk to. These kinds of thoughts are manufactured bullshit. Diamonds are completely worthless. All they are is carbon. And they can be used in industry, but they can be made synthetically. A cubic zirconia, a professional has a very difficult time telling a cubic zirconia from a real diamond, if it's a good one, flawless. So what does it matter? And why am I bringing that up? Well, I think it's pretty obvious, because we're deluded into believing the Kanyes and the diamonds of this world are worth something. I shouldn't say Kanye's. Kanye's still an artist. People like that. The Kardashians and the diamonds of this world. And I'm sorry to anyone who likes Kanye. That's fine. And I'm also sorry to anyone who was a sucker and spent $20,000 on a fucking diamond that's worthless. But the one thing that I guess should give it away is that once you buy a diamond and you take it back down and try to resell it to a jeweler, go try that and see what you get. And that'll tell you what a diamond's really worth. So it's more of a show of people to show how much money they can spend. And the people raking that money in are the ones who are willing to fool people. This happens all over the place. We need the latest iPhone, the latest gadgets. People are always showing off how cool their stuff is and how much their hubbies love them. And it's just bullshit. What else can I say about it, you know? It's complete bullshit. People are suckers. I'm a sucker too. Hey man, I'm a human. I end up buying shit that I probably don't need. But the one thing I don't do is watch network television and get sucked into commercials. I hate commercials, I always have. But beyond that, you get marketed to constantly on the internet. Everybody knows that. If you look for something on eBay and you still have cookies on your, you will find that on some random website or a record you were looking at. That's fine, okay? We know we can hide from this, but you know what? It can be beneficial. It can remind me of certain things that I wanted to get. Keeps track and tabs of what I'm interested in. That's fine, because I can keep my private browsing or private history elsewhere. But I don't have one, because I don't really look for anything that I guess is worthy of worrying about hiding. But I don't know how I got into that. Anyhow, it's all about confidence, you know. It's all about being confident about who you are and trying to be the best person you can be in life, because until you love yourself, you can't love anyone. You hear that all the time. And it's very true. And I'm still learning to love myself. I'm still learning to like who I am, but while also trying to change who I am to be better. When my good friend was over today and we were talking about just that, he's 40 as well, and he's like, I don't want to look back and say, oh man, I just, wasted my evenings, or wasted my days. And I'm like, dude, I'm totally with you. You go through a hard time when you have your kids, because you have to, you have to be a father or a mother. And if you want to be a good one, then it pretty much, you give up your energy to your children because they need it. And you have little moments in between where you can come out and make a video in your garage like this. And even though I'm talking, it's super relaxing compared to being bombarded with questions. I don't mean the questions kids ask about, life. I mean the questions like, can I play this? Can I have the iPad? Because growing up in a world of technology ain't easy. I'll talk to you later. Y'all have a good one.